Electronic documents and paperlessness are provided for those who want to reduce their reliance on paper documents and capitalize on the value of electronic documents. This value includes auditability, history, reproducibility, accessibility, and legibility. Auditability. It's always important to know who originated the information that is recorded in a document. With paper documents, the technologies that we trust to perform this function are permanent ink, so documents can't be falsified after the original writing. The Gregorian calendar, so writers can timestamp their work. Handwritten signatures, to identify the writer. The key concept is that it's difficult to reproduce another person's signature accurately. The problems with this method of document authentication are that people can erase work written using a pencil, so an ink policy is necessary. This is a small concern. The key concept is that it's difficult to reproduce another person's signature accurately. The problems with this method of document authentication are: people can erase work written using a pencil, so an ink policy is necessary. This is a small concern. We need to trust that the person signing a document read the calendar correctly and wrote the correct year, month, and day of month. Another small concern. It requires everyone to be an expert handwriting analyst. This is a great concern. In contrast, when a document is electronically signed, specialized knowledge is required to produce a valid signature that only the originator would possess. In most cases, this is a password. The key concept here is that it is difficult to determine another person's password. Admittedly, sometimes it isn't, but this occurs when people misuse their passwords. For example, they leave passwords lying about for others to read or share them with others, or they make them very easy to guess. So, what is the difference between a signature that's easy to forge and a password that's easy to guess? Probably nothing. But that's not the difference that matters. The difference that we need to care about is the one between a signature that's easy to forge, which is most of them, and a password that is difficult to guess. Forging signatures. The dishonest person that wants to pose as another person needs only a sample of that person's handwriting. If impersonating that person is of any value, there will be sufficient samples. Because not everyone is a handwriting analyst, the reproduction of the handwriting doesn't have to be exact. It just has to be convincing. Furthermore, it doesn't have to be convincing for long, just long enough for money to change hands or the right people to see the document and be convinced that it's authentic, so they are free to act on the document's contents. For all these reasons, all signatures are easy to forge. Cracking passwords. The dishonest person that wants to pose as another person electronically needs that person's password. The fact that it's possible for one person to have multiple passwords for multiple pools of sensitive information or documents is already an improvement over paper documents, as it's uncommon for anyone to use more than one signature. In fact, if someone does, it makes it even more difficult to prove that any one of those signatures represent the true person, since multiple signatures are effectively forgeries of each other. Regardless, if a person really wants to have a secure password, it's possible, but there's no such thing as a secure signature. Timestamps. Electronic documents survive audit better, not just for the authenticity of their signatures, but also for the accuracy and credibility of their timestamps. There is no arguing with a server that timestamps a document with the current time with atomic precision that comes from a world standard clock. History. The need for good document history is most apparent in the case of form data, where information needs to be recorded by multiple people over some interval of time. To look at a paper document that has information captured from more than one person over time, it's difficult to know what information was entered at what time. Even when a contributor notes the year, month, and day of month, of their entry, they may not always enter the hour, minute, and second. If it ever matters who wrote what information at what time, the level of precision and authenticity required is just not consistently provided in the paper record. The electronic record captures precisely what information was captured and from whom, making it very easy to watch the evolution of content of a document. Reproducibility. Electronic documents do not decay when properly maintained. Paper documents do. Ink fades, paper wears. This is not one of the greater risks of paper. Admittedly, there are libraries filled with documents that are centuries old. However, whereas there are documentation specialists that work to preserve the paper record, such specialized preservation of electronic documents is not necessary. Accessibility. The accessibility of an electronic document is likely its greatest advantage if we place value in the number of people that will read the document. Proponents of the paper record will often argue that a paper document is never down, like a computer system can be, and is always accessible. This is untrue, however, as the reality of paper is as follows. Unless all the people that are interested in the document are willing to share the physical page, they have to access it one at a time. The only time the paper document is accessible to everybody is when nobody is using it. As soon as it's being used by one, it is inaccessible to all, and therefore down for all but one person. The electronic document is accessible to all who have rights to it at the same time or in rapid succession. Even as an electronic document is changing, the most current version of the document is accessible to all of its audience. Legibility. Wherever handwriting is used, the issue of illegibility is in close proximity. Some people even take pride in the fact that they are consulted regularly to clarify what they've written. While they might think that this is novel, the rest of us find it at best annoying and at worst totally unproductive. With electronic documents whose typefaces are constrained to any other than messy handwriting, illegibility is never an issue.